Ya Tuhan, ya Tuhan, bersatukanlah hati hamba-Mu. Bersatukanlah kepada mereka itu maksud-Mu yang agung, maksud-Mu yang agung. Ya Tuhan, ya Tuhan, bersatukanlah hati hamba-Mu. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Oh my God, you reach the hearts of thy servants.
Thank you so much, Pina. We really appreciate it. I just want to reiterate what I just said a minute ago, and that is we are continuing with almost the same topic that we had last week, as you asked for it. Our speakers last week was Dr. Rod Clarken, and also a wonderful friend, Oscar DeGruy, who kindly actually came downstairs from where Rod lives, and he just continued to be a part of this fireside so naturally and so beautifully. I don't see Oscar's name here. If he's here, hi, Oscar, we love you. And if he will join us later, Rod can tell him that.
Yeah, he's not here yet. He's in a meeting in the other room. We have adjoining apartments. There's a door that joins us. So he's going to finish that meeting and then he'll come over here.
Thank you. Thank you, Rod. I just want to again introduce Rod very shortly and ask him to start speaking in case there are friends here this is the first time they are joining us. Rod has accepted to actually speak a bit about what the Baha'i faith is, and then he will continue to do whatever he would like to do. Dr. Rodney Clarken has been a teacher in Native American and Tanzanian schools, assistant dean at the University of Detroit School of Education and Human Services, professor at the University of the Virgin Islands, and a professor, director, and dean of education at North Michigan University. He has books, papers, blogs, essays, presentations, courses, and bibliographies, information, art, photography, you name it. So he will put his site, Rod Clarken, wordpress.com, in the chat probably after he finished. Thank you for the friend who is joining us from England. I don't remember your name, but appreciate it. This must be very late, Mr. iPhone. Go ahead, Rod.
Thank you so much. Again, it's wonderful to be with you all. I so enjoy being with Faruz. She brings so much love and joy wherever she goes. She is so welcoming. She manifests such wonderful qualities. So I appreciate being invited to come back again. Again, I want to make this a conversation. And as part of that conversation, I want to start off with some of the basic ideas about the Baha'i faith. The Baha'is believe that we believe in God. And this idea of God is something that the Baha'is realize is a universal idea. God created the universe, and God created humanity with a special condition. There is a verse in the Baha'i writings that is in the voice of God, and he says, veiled in my immemorial being and in the ancient eternity of my essence, I knew my love for thee. Therefore I created thee, have engraved on thee mine image and revealed to thee my beauty. So in that one simple verse, we can find a great deal of wisdom. And this verse actually comes from a book that if you ever want to learn or read something about the Baha'i faith, it would be a wonderful first book to look at. It's called The Hidden Words. And it has, in it is kind of synthesized the essence of all the knowledge that has been revealed to the prophets of old. And he's taken it and clothed it in the garment of brevity as a token of grace unto the righteous, so that we might be able to fulfill in our own lives the trust that God has placed within us. So in that, when he says that veiled in my immemorial being in the ancient eternity of my essence, that is basically saying that we have no access directly to God. This God, this name that we give to a figure is something that's incomprehensible. It is infinite. It is beyond human capacity. And as I talk later about the soul, there are different stations in God's creation. And each station can comprehend its level, but it can comprehend the levels below it. For instance, as a human being, I can comprehend an animal, a plant, and a mineral, but the mineral can't understand the plant can't understand the animal, and none of them can understand the human being. Well, we are at that station, and God, we would be like the plant trying to understand God. It's impossible. We do not have that capacity. But God, in this message, in this one verse, says, I knew my love for thee, hence, therefore I created thee. And so we know that this God, we know something about this God. We know some of the attributes and names of God. For instance, God can know, God can love, and God can create. So right there in his one verse, we see these attributes of God that are manifest. And then the next phrase, he says, and have engraved on thee mine image. So just from that one verse, we can say, if God knew his love for us, and therefore he created us, then also we have the capacity to know and to love and to create, because he engraved that image on us. And that is the image we're actually wanting to talk about later on tonight when we talk about the soul. This is not the image of God. The image of God is a spiritual image. It is the names and attributes of God. It is that capacity to know, to love, and to create that has been engraved in us. And we have that capacity to reflect. And in fact, that is our whole purpose in life. And the Baha'i faith is God's, the very last phrase, and reveal to thee thy beauty. Because God is so far above us, he has revealed to us his beauty through revelators, through teachers, through messengers, are what some people call prophets, are manifestations. These are individuals who come to this earth in a human form, but actually reflect all the attributes of God, so that we on that level can come to know God through these revealers who reveal God's beauty. So when we look at these revealers of God's beauty, because God revealed his beauty to us, we then come to know and we can love God and love that beauty. And we can create in that image of God to try and create the civilization and the life that God has intended for us when he created us. And so as Baha'is, we believe this is an eternal truth, veiled in the immemorial being. In my ancient eternity of my essence, I knew my love for thee. Therefore, I created thee, having engraved in thee my image and revealed to thee my beauty. God has always revealed his beauty to humanity. But humanity, as you know, has always been evolving, as we know from science. Humanity has been progressing. And in fact, if you study the history of human evolution, you'll see that it's very comparable to that of an individual, that humanity has gone through stages such as infancy, childhood, and actually from the Baha'i perspective, humanity is now at the stage of adolescence, preparing to enter into adulthood. So each one of these revealers of God's beauty, whether it be a Moses, a Jesus, a Muhammad, a Buddha, a Krishna, a Zoroaster, or today Baha'u'llah, each one of them has revealed God beauty according to our capacity to know and to love according to the stage that humanity has developed. So Baha'u'llah has come at a stage when we're really like teenagers preparing to become adults. And he's brought the knowledge and the love and help us to create a world that we can move into our adulthood. And so the Baha'i faith, which Baha'u'llah actually means the glory of God, just as God says to reveal thy beauty. Baha'u'llah, Baha means glory, Ullah is of God. Just as I said, God is a concept throughout the world, but it's a word that's always translated differently. And in Arabic, it's translated as Allah. And Baha'u'llah means glory of God. So that's part of the beauty of God. He's a revealer of the glory of God. In this day, when Jesus came, he was the revealer of the glory of God in that day. And when Muhammad came, each one was able to educate humanity according to their capacity. Because when Jesus came, we were able to advance to a little higher level of understanding than at the time of Moses. Moses was, let's say, teaching a rather young kind of civilization where he needed firm rules and guidance. He would say, he had strong reward and punishment, which works quite well when you're a child. In fact, children need that. They need those kind of guidelines. When Christ came along, he saw humanity was at a different stage and they needed to mature to a different level. And at that level, he brought the ideas of faith and love to move humanity to a higher, mature understanding of God. And so he was able to reveal knowledge about God and a love for God that as a child, they didn't understand. In the same way, if you and I were to talk, today I was talking with my grandchildren. If one of them is 6 years old, one of them's only 3 weeks old. So, I mean, if you try to talk to the 3-week-old about love or knowledge, there's no way. The love and knowledge is giving them food, is caring for them. That's the love and knowledge they need. To try to speak to them as you would a teenager would be absolutely foolish. And so God in his wisdom, when man was in his infancy, he took care of them at that level. Now, my 6-year-old who I was talking to, again, I have to use a different language. I express my love and the knowledge with him, the way I talk to him is different than I do to my 11-year-old grandson or to my 14-year-old grandson. Each one of them have the capacity, but that capacity hasn't come on board, just like humanity has gradually developed. And so there is one God that has brought all of these revelators to reveal his beauty to us, because we now can manifest in a evolving fashion the love and knowledge that he engraved in us, so that we can create an ever-advancing civilization. And so Baha'u'llah is just the latest of those revealers of God's beauty. They all reveal God's beauty, and they all did it according to humanity's capacity. And so the last thing I will say is that each time they come, these revealers reveal this love and knowledge, but they also reveal social teachings, which are really meant for that stage in development. So when I am creating an environment for my 3-week-old, my 6-year-old, my 11-year-old, my 14-year-old, it's all going to be different, because because I have grown beyond them, I can see more what they need, and I can speak to their need. I can give them love in a way they can understand it, and a way that can help them move to the next higher level of love and knowledge. And that's really what Baha'u'llah has come to do. And that's what the Baha'i faith has come to do. And I think the key principle, if we look at how humanity has evolved, we've evolved in one of our expanding of knowledge and love is our ability to know and love greater numbers of people. So as a child, my 3-week-old is only really just in that family. There's nothing outside of that. That's the highest love and knowledge that baby is going to have for a year or two. Then as my 6-year-old, who my daughter was dropping off at school, he's now in kindergarten, he's having to now, he spent most of his life with his family, whether it just be his nuclear family or his extended family, and then a few friends. But now all of a sudden his circle of love and knowledge has expanded. And so now the rules are a little bit different. He has to think differently. He has to act differently. And my 11-year-old who's just started middle school, it's different. My 14-year-old who's just started high school. Each one of those is different. And that's why they have different teachers who give them different knowledge. So Baha'u'llah is brought the latest, highest form of knowledge and love. He's revealed God's beauty to us in the capacity that, we loved our family. Now we loved our little community, our neighborhood. Maybe now we can love our town. Now we with the coming of Muhammad, we finally, that love got expanded so that we could know and be united with a nation. And so the whole idea of nationhood, Baha'u'llah has said, there was, when you were in middle school, that was okay. You could be in that love. Now in high school, you've got to love, well, actually, we're graduated from high school. Now you're gonna have to go up to college. It isn't just the people in your little nation. You're gonna have to associate with people from the whole world. And Baha'u'llah has brought all the teachings really to help us live peacefully and productively in this world. And so to go back to that verse, when he says, I am engraved on thee mine image, that image is our soul. And that's why it's important we talk about it. And one of the coming of maturity of the Baha'is is that we no longer have any priest or clergy in the Baha'i faith. No one in the Baha'i faith has any higher authority over another individual. Each one of us are equal in the eyes of God. Every one of us have been created with that knowledge, love, and we have all of that engraved on us. All of us are equal in that ability. And so when I'm speaking to you tonight, I'm speaking to you as an individual who is trying to come to know and love and create in my life, through my life, a life that reflects the beauty of that revelation. And so I'm just sharing some of my thoughts. Now, when they reveal their beauty, it isn't, like, oh, look at me. Their beauty is the word of God. Their beauty is the spirit that they bring. And the spirit that Baha'u'llah brought in this age has transformed the world. The Baha'i faith started in 1844. And if you look at where humanity has gone from 1844 until the present day, it's phenomenal. Based on what I understand from people who study this, we have made more progress in that time than all the recorded history before. Baha'u'llah not only brought this idea that we are to be united as a human race, he has brought that spirit and released a spirit on the world that has created the conditions for that to happen. We are having a conversation right now with people around the world. As a boy, today is my birthday. I turned 72. As a boy, thank you. That's a big accomplishment.
I was hoping to be able to surprise you at the end of your talk and ask everyone to wish you happy birthday. You ruined my plans.
Sorry, Farouz. I'm a man. I don't get these things. So in any case, I have, I forgot what I was even going to say. Farouz, you got me all discombobulated here. But in any case, this soul, well, here comes Oscar. So the soul is the thing that makes us unique. And we are at that stage in human history where we can develop that. So that gives you a little background about what the Baha'i faith is and how it fits in. And before we go any further, I guess I'd like to stop and see if if anybody has a question about or a clarification or a comment about what I've shared so far. And also you can either raise your hand, you can speak, or you can put it in the chat, whatever. So, and I'm going to kind of ask Farouz to monitor the chat. So let's begin talking a little bit more about the soul. And we started last week, and as there are no priests or clergy, and as there are no gifted ones, the Baha'is are all trying to come to know and love God every day in every way. And so part of our gathering here tonight is to try and better understand what is that beauty that God revealed to us, and what did he engrave on us that we need to be developing while we're in this condition of being in a body in this world, because this is a temporary condition. This is not our reality. This is not our immortal identity. This was born, it will die, but there is that essence that God placed within us that has the capacity to know, love, and create, that will continue on and live into the next world. And our job, as I understand it, and again, for everyone, I'm sharing with you my understanding from the writings. We can also look at the writings, but we are all free to have different understandings. I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but I'm sharing with you my understandings in the hope that that we can come to some greater understanding, maybe mutually, by having a shared conversation. And so in many cases, you maybe are used to people speaking at you or lecturing and such. I don't want to do that. I want to have a conversation with you, and I want us to jointly be exploring, because Baha'u'llah says at this stage of maturity, each one of us has to investigate reality for ourselves. You can't take what somebody else says and just accept that. You are responsible for God, for what you know, what you love, and what you create. You will be held accountable for that in the next world. And so it is important for you to bring yourself to account in this world while you have a certain condition that allows your soul to develop. Abdul-Baha, who was the son of Baha'u'llah, and Abdul-Baha means servant of glory. Baha, of course, as you know, means glory. Abdul means servant. He was the servant of glory. Baha'i actually means follower of Baha. So we're the follower of the glory. We're trying to follow that revealed beauty. We are trying to strive to bring our lives in accord with those teachings that really it's the teachings and the words and the life of the prophet or the messenger that is that beauty that we have to turn to and to draw for energy, light, and guidance. So with that, I see Viti has put in a question, and I'd like to go with that. And I know there were a lot of questions that were left from last week. And so I would like to pick up with some of those questions as well, because our time is limited. No need for me to talk about things that people aren't interested in. Let's talk about things let's have a conversation about these things. And part of the reason I also want you to perceive this as a conversation is that it's very important that we're having these conversations with other people. This is not a conversation for tonight. The conversation we're having, I'm hoping tomorrow when you're talking with your friends, maybe your grandchildren, maybe your acquaintances, your colleagues, your workmates, that you're able to enter into this, to uplift whatever conversation you're having, to say, well, last night we were having a conversation about the soul. What do you think about that? Or they talked about this, about the soul. What is your belief about the soul? If instead of having conversations about things that are not uplifting, are not actually meaningful, conversations about worldly matters that aren't going to make a difference with your immortal soul, we need to change the conversation. We can become that catalyst. We can become the people who uplift our conversations and uplift not only that, the spirit of our workplace by having our souls manifest greater knowledge and love, care, and that we create then, with that knowledge and love, we create an environment where other hearts and souls can begin to develop and begin to recognize the beauty and the image of God that is being engraved in their souls as well. Because every one of us, no matter what we look like, no matter what our capacity, no matter what our station in life is, We have all been created rich and noble. We all have these souls that have this capacity. We all have the responsibility to develop that capacity to the best of our ability. And quite frankly, we will all be called account when we leave this world. So it's important that we begin changing our conversations, and we begin changing conversations of those we have around people. And so the more we know and think about the soul, the more we're able to enter into a conversation and help people to awaken these latent energies. This love and knowledge are the greatest powers in the universe. Love is the, love, we know about love in human relationships, but this love is a spiritual principle, but it also manifests itself in the physical plane. And in the physical plane, love is attraction, and it is what holds everything together. And it holds all the atoms, all the molecules, everything in this universe, the planets, everything is held together by love. And the more, and we're just seeing a physical manifestation of it. That love is the greatest power in the universe. If we tap into that, we can transform our individual lives and our collective lives. Truth is tremendous power. Lies and hate can never conquer truth and love. They are the greatest powers. It's like the light. If I turn off the lights, it's going to be filled with darkness. If we don't bring light into this world, it is and will be filled with darkness. And we do live in a very dark time, quite frankly. And it's a dangerous time. As I was telling you about the idea of adolescence, we are at that stage. We have the mental capacity, we have the physical strength of an adult, but we still, this part of our brain, this frontal lobe, is still not kicked in. And according to neurologists, it's often not until around age 24 that your frontal lobe gets fully developed. This is the lobe that deals with reason. And reason is what Baha'u'llah says is one of the main attributes of the soul. And it isn't until we get this physical capacity that the soul can manifest itself through this. As a child, I can't manifest the same amount of knowledge and love as I can as an adult. And so at each stage, you need to move to a higher stage of knowledge and love and creation. As a child, maybe you create this nice little thing. As an adult, you've got to do more. There are greater expectations on you. And nobody looks down at the child and says, oh, they're having a tantrum, or they're throwing their food on the, we expect that. That's a stage they have to go through. We all have gone through that stage. We all have been infants. We've all have been we've all gone through all of the stages. When we were in our mother, and Abdul Baha says that's one of the wisdoms of the soul coming to this world. This is one of the worlds of God. There is the world of the womb. And while we were in the world of the womb, we were really in the station of a plant. Our souls were there as a plant. We were implanted on the wall of our mother's womb with the placenta. We didn't have the senses. They were there latent, but they weren't developed yet. And it's only when we were born that we then began these senses, which are really the capacities of an animal. And it's only as we develop that we begin to bring the mind on, which is really what distinguishes humans from animals. And then as we become older, it is as we develop our souls that we become as angels. We become what is in Christian terms, we are born again. We have another life that is distinct from the life of the senses and mind that a human has, as it would to the animal world, as the human is to the angel world. So when you're living in that world, you see things differently, you think differently, you feel differently, and you act differently. And so, but until you can develop those capacities, you're not able to do that. And so that's part of your task in this world. So with that, I think Farouz, you want to interrupt me here, and we can see.
I will never interrupt you, Rod. You are my boss. But since time is of an essence, and so we want to make sure that we will have enough time for everyone. If there is any comment, you can put the comments in the chat. But if there is any question, hopefully it's going to be short, because we would like to move to the other part. Okay, Mr. Akhun, please go ahead.
So you talked about the example of, the senses in this world. What are the capacities that we need for the other world, and we need to develop that we might not be needing them here, but in the other world, if we don't have them, we are really greatly handicapped.
Yeah.
This is one question. Another question is, I don't know, are you going to talk about the soul in the other world, or
Yes,
I can ask the question?
Oscar, he's a little more advanced than I am.
I have a question about that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I should wait or.
And the hard questions Oscar's going to answer.
Okay.
I'm going to take the easy ones. So the capacities of the soul have been revealed to us by these revealers of God's beauty. Our souls have the capacity, they have all the image of God revealed in them. So just in that one verse, if we stick with that one verse, we know that God has the capacity to know, to love, and to create. And so we know that those are spiritual capacities that we have. And these capacities are at a level different from the animal. Whatever an animal can know, love, or create, whatever that is, it is a whole different realm for the human being. And so what we need to develop has been revealed to us by the revealers of God's beauty, which in this age is Baha'u'llah, in the past Jesus and such. So we have a whole wealth of knowledge, and it is.
I would think also the virtues, right?
The virtues, basically.
Yeah, I mean, basically learning love, peace, kindness, justice, mercy. Those are your arms and legs in the next world. That's what you need to survive. I mean, in this world, we have to have physical hands and arms and legs. But in that world, without love, without peace, without understanding, without all these virtues that we've been given to develop, that is our existence in the next world. That's who we are. So if you don't develop patience, if you don't develop love and kindness, you're going to be kind of crippled in that world, because that's what the baby comes here without hands or legs. It's not going to be able to function as well without those things. So we have to develop those invisible spiritual virtues so that we can be a whole person, a whole being in that next world. That's why we're here. We're here to develop that so that we can function in that world at our highest. And so we must learn. That's why we have children to can test our patience. That's why we have love, and we have people in our family who test our love. We have people who test us, and that's what this whole world is about, testing these virtues. And the more we can overcome them, the more we become a whole person spiritually for the next world. Because even though they benefit from it here, even more so in the next life. So that's kind of what this whole purpose of life is for us, spiritually speaking, We're spiritual beings having a temporary material experience so that we can learn to be a better and stronger spiritual person.
Oscar, I have not introduced you yet.
It's okay.
So maybe if Dr. Clarken, if you permit me, I will introduce Oscar, and then Oscar will go ahead and share, and then we will answer the questions. Oscar, I just very briefly would say that you are a youth advocate with over 40 years of experience as an actor, public speaker, workshop creator, facilitator, and mentor. He founded the Baha'i Youth Workshop in the 1970s, which spread around the world. You know that youth can move the world. Thank you for moving the youth. He currently offers youth empowerment programs to develop character, self-discipline, and awareness, and increase capacity to effectively deal with such issues as race, ethnicity, gender, inequality, violence, and substance abuse. His programs help young people develop skills that lead to personal excellence and positive social change. Dr. Mushrifzadeh, why don't we ask you to hold the question until Oscar finishes, and then both of them will answer the question. Thank you, Oscar, for accepting to be here. I know that Rod has very many wonderful friends, including myself, but it seems that you're the best. So please go for it.
What time do you guys stop at 9 o'clock, right? At 9? Are you done at 9 tonight?
Yeah, well, please, you
I
go.
don't want to start and get in the middle of something and maybe I should come back another time.
No, please go ahead. No.
You guys tonight.
No, because the people asked both of us to come back, and one of the questions that they asked you was about dreams. But
Yeah.
if there's anything else you would like to share about the power of the soul, please go for it.
Yeah, I had made some comments the last time I was on that I thought maybe I should have the actual quotes so you can actually see them, and maybe have them for yourselves if you choose. I mean, can you see the screen right now? Can you see these?
Yes.
Screen? Okay. Well, I mean, I was just going to briefly go over them so we can catch up on what I said last time. But I don't want people to think I just made up a bunch of stuff. But I'm not sure we can read the whole thing. Can you move this that way a little bit? Oh, okay. So anyway, I mentioned that that the world was different. Our world here and the womb world, the baby coming here is a very huge leap. And Abdul-Baha makes a very interesting statement. Actually, Baha'u'llah says it in Gleanings, which is a book we all know about on page 157. He says, the world beyond is different from this world, as this world is different from that of the child while still in the womb of the mother. That's what I would say blew my mind, that the idea that where we're going is a greater leap forward than the baby coming out of that dark womb world into this life. I thought that was quite amazing. And I thought I would show you where that was, where the quote was. Maybe you can go and read the entire quote and paragraph in context. But anyway, that particular statement was one I made. The other thing I said, I don't know if can anybody else want to read the next paragraph? We can quickly go through this so we can catch up on what I said last time so we can move forward. Would someone like to volunteer to read the next one? Anybody? Can we all see it? Because I'm not sure, I can't see you guys anymore. All I see is the quotes. Are you there?
I can read it.
All right, go ahead.
The world of matter is an outer expression or facsimile of the inner kingdom of spirit. The earth is the mirror of the kingdom. The material world corresponds to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is like unto the phenomenal world. They are the exact counterpart of each other. Whatever objects appear in this world of existence are the outer pictures of the world of heaven.
So everything we have here is nothing but a reflection of what's in the next world. So this is nothing but the metaphor for the reality. This is the mirror to what is real. And everything here, and these two worlds are not that different. We think of them being really different, but they're not that different. In fact, in the next statement, Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha make it very clear, because Baha'u'llah explains that the earthly world, the world below, which they call it Nasut, or the material existence, and the world of Malakut, which is the next world, are not two worlds totally separated from one another, but rather two parts of one greater world, which he calls the world of creation, or the contingent world. And both are governed by the same laws. I made that statement last time, and you can find out more about this in the Tablet of All Food, which you can go on the Baha'i website and type in Tablet of All Food, and you'll get all of these hierarchy of the different levels, Hahut, Lahut, Jabarut, Malakut. All of those are going to be found in the Tablet of All Food. And also in the Archaeology of the Kingdom of God. These are places you can type in and actually in Google, and they'll take you to these comments or these statements or these tablets by Baha'u'llah, which explain how the world, this world, the material world and the spiritual world are connected. They're not two separate realities. They're just two sides of one coin, so to speak. That's where we are. That's what we're dealing with. It's not another place. He says it's closer to you than your life's vein. So we're very, very close to that world. It's very close to us. Abdu'l-Baha in this statement, this is in Baha'i World Faith, he says that it is through his ignorance man fears death, but the death he shrinks from is imaginary and absolutely unreal. It is only human imagination. The conception of annihilation is a factor in human degradation, a cause of human debasement and lowliness, a source of human fear and abjection. Therefore, it behooves man to abandon thoughts of non-existence and death, which are absolutely imaginary, and see himself ever living, everlasting, in the divine purpose of his creation. He must turn away from ideas which degrade the human soul. So it's like Abdu'l-Baha is kind of reprimanding us right here. I feel like he's kind of mad at you. How dare you think that you don't exist after you die? How dare you think that the soul doesn't continue, the life doesn't go on after this material world? He says we must turn away from ideas which degrade the human soul. The idea of becoming annihilated and not existing after the death of the body, he says it sounds like it's almost insulting to him, the way he explains it in this particular quote. And that's from Baha'i World Faith. Many of these quotes are really right at our fingertips. These are not obscure places we have to go find them. They're right in our grasp, right, very close to us. The next statement he makes, he says that in the other world, the human reality does not assume a physical form. Rather, doth it take on a heavenly form, made up of the elements of that heavenly realm. And then Baha'u'llah says, the soul will assume the form that best befitteth its immortality and is worthy of its celestial habitation. In other words, the soul needs a vehicle. The soul needs something to function with. While we're in this world, it's our body and our brain and this physical computer and this physical body that we use. That's what the soul is using. When you go to sleep at night and you dream, the soul takes on a different form. That form is what you walk around and talk and see and hear in your dream, because your body's at home in the bed. You're off in Paris having a good time with your friends and walking around and talking and doing everything you normally do, but you don't use your physical body. You take on a different form to be able to do that. And in the next world, the soul will also use a different form, a form made up of that elements of that world. So we will have a body-like form in the next world, but not the physical body. But the soul needs a vehicle to function. And so in the next life, it will also have a vehicle that it will function with in the next world. I'm trying to get through these pretty quickly. Is everybody still with me?
Absolutely. Don't rush it.
Okay. It says, the next one is from Baha'i World Faith as well. Answer thy question whether the souls will recognize each other in the spiritual world. This fact is certain, for the kingdom is the world of vision. Visible, things are visible in it, in parenthesis, where all the concealed realities will become disclosed. How much more the well-known souls will become manifest. The mysteries of which man is heedless in this earthly world, those will he discover in the heavenly world. And there will he be informed of the secret of truth. How much more will he recognize or discover persons with whom he had been associated? So we will know everyone that we know in this life. We will know those same people in the next world. Everybody we know here, we will know there. All of our family, friends will all be there with us. Now, everyone may not be on the same level because we may have to visit each other. It's like I used to visit my friends who lived in Beverly Hills when I was in Los Angeles, and I'd go to their neighborhood and hang out a little bit. But sometimes they'd come to my neighborhood too. So we would have different places that we would be living. So there's going to be different stations in the next world. And therefore we have to also realize that everyone's not going to be on the same level. But we'll attract those who are more like us, and they will attract it to us as well. He also explains that a little bit further on. Answer thy question regarding discoveries made by the soul after it put off its human form. That world is a world of perfections and discoveries. For the veils will be lifted away, and the human spirit will gaze upon souls that are above it, below it, and on par with itself. This is from Abdu'l-Baha's writings. So we will be able to see those souls that are above us. We'll be able to see those souls that are below us, and we'll be able to see those souls that are on the same level we are. Now, those that are above us, well, we don't fully understand those that are above us. We don't fully understand what their world is like exactly. But they can come visit us, and we can hang out. They can go back to their world, and we can obviously know that those that are below us will know those souls that are below us. And of course, we'll be gravitating and hanging out more with those that are like unto ourselves. So those that are of the same station will gravitate towards each other in the next world, and they will function together as a community in their own world. Now, there's more. Can someone else read? Because I have dyslexia and I'm going to start messing up the statements. Maybe Dr. Clarken can read the next one.
All right. The tests and trials of God take place in this world, but not in the world of the kingdom.
So we're tested here, but we're not going to be tested there. All the testing we get done in this life, it all stays here. It's not going to be the same kind of things going on in the next world. It's about growing and developing and moving forward in the next life. It's not going to be about testing you to see if you're worthy. In this life, we have to be tested because this is where we prove ourselves. In the next world, we're going to be developing ourselves.
So thou hast inquired about the spirit after its ascent and whether it is still aware of the physical worlds. Know thou, the spirit after its ascent is like unto one who hath awakened from slumber. It is aware of the conditions of all things, as the famous hadith saith, the people are asleep. When they die, they are aware.
That's a pretty powerful hadith. Yeah, so we're recognizing that the vision and the true knowledge and true understanding and true sight comes when we leave this world. All the things we think we didn't learn or understand, they'll be disclosed to us in that world. Everything that we needed to learn that we didn't learn here, we'll have to learn there. Now, it'll be at the mercy and bounty of God because we didn't choose to do it here. Well, everything we learn and everything we develop in the next world is from prayers of those that are trying to help us, from prayers of those in that world and this world. And of course, God's bounty and forgiveness will allow us to then discover things and grow in that world. But our free will to grow ourselves like we did here won't be the same. We'll have choices to make, yes, but we cannot impose ourselves on others. We can't attack or harm anyone in that world. We'll be at the mercy of God, and we will be growing according to what he decides, and those in this world and that world who help us to grow is how we're going to develop in that life. So while we're here, we need to do the best we can to get ourselves ready so that we at least arrive in a position where we can grow in a fast and quick manner, because we've gotten all the basic fundamentals taken care of while we were here.
O mother, grieve not because of thy separation from thy son, but be proud. This is a happy and joyful station, not a station of grief and sadness. If he seeth you rejoicing, he will rejoice. But if you are sad, he will be sad. Busy thyself with making mention of God, and with complete joy sing his praise.
I made a statement the last time we were talking, and I was giving my presentation, that a friend of mine had passed away, a young man, and he had a daughter. And in a dream I had, he came to me, and he was his youthful self, looking wonderful. He had a great big smile on his face. He was happy and joyous, and he came and gave me a great big hug. And he said to me, "Tell my daughter that I'm okay," because she was so grieving so hard that it was affecting him in that world, that her grief was actually affecting him in that world. And he wanted me to contact her to tell her that he was okay, he was happy, he was fine, to stop crying and stop grieving so much. In fact, I think that's what the next quote is about. Abdul-Baha, that was Baha'u'llah's quote about the woman and her son. But Abdul-Baha goes on to say, "Therefore be thou not disconsolate." That's how I said it. "Do not languish, do not sigh, neither wail nor weep, for agitation and mourning deeply affect his soul in the divine realm." So Abdul-Baha is saying very clearly that if we overly grieve, if we grieve too hard, if we cry and bemoan our plight too much, it will actually affect the soul in the next world. It'll be a distraction for that soul. Because in the next statement from Baha'u'llah, he says, "In each world there is an ordained and prescribed mission for each soul." Everybody's got a job in the next world. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody's going to be busy. There's no floating around on clouds eating grapes. There's no walking up and down gold streets. All those are metaphors. There's going to be stuff to do, places to go, people to see. It's going to be like being here in this world, but it's going to be a spiritual component of that. And yes, there will be a life to have in that world, just like we have a life in this world. It's not laying around just, like I said, on clouds, just floating around peacefully for eternity. That is not the way it's going to be. He said very clearly, each soul there is ordained and prescribed, has an ordained and prescribed mission. You have a purpose, you have something to get done while you're in the next world as well.
In one of his tablets, he states that one of the special bounties of God in this dispensation is that in the next world, his forgiveness and mercy will surround the souls of those who do not declare their belief in this cause, but are related to a believer. This bounty is especially true of parents who do not embrace the faith.
Okay, that's pretty reassuring. My parents did not become Baha'is, but because I'm a Baha'i and I was the first Baha'i in my family, and all my sisters and brothers became Baha'is, and now all of our children are Baha'is, my parents, Baha'u'llah is saying, have a special gift because their children became Baha'is. So us embracing the faith affects our relatives in the next world, especially our parents, if they never heard about the faith or didn't become Baha'is. My parents did hear about the faith, and they were very happy that we all became Baha'is because how we changed our lives because of becoming Baha'is, but they never declared themselves. But the fact that we are Baha'is in this life and serving Baha'u'llah and serving the cause of God, they are affected in that world, and they receive what Abdul-Baha says is the mantle of forgiveness. Did you go too far?
Yeah, it's because it's
Oh, okay. Now we're into the dreams. Do we have time for this? I know you have an agenda.
Yes, yes, we do have. Actually, that was one of the questions of last week. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Baha'u'llah says in the Seven Valleys, this is from the Seven Valleys, that one of the creative phenomena is a dream. Behold how many secrets it is deposited therein, how many wisdoms treasured up, how many worlds concealed. Then he goes on to say, observe how thou art asleep in a dwelling, and its doors are barred. Of a sudden thou foundest thyself in a far-off city, which thou enterest without moving thy feet or wearying thy body. Without thine eyes thou seest, without taxing thine ears thou hearest, without a tongue thou speakest. And perchance, when 10 years are gone, thou wilt witness in the outer world the very things thou didst dream tonight. So he's confirming the deja vu concept, that you can dream something in the future, come back to the present, and then live to have that same experience again in the material world. So the spiritual world has no time. You can go in the past, in the present, and the future, and come back to this present, and then remember the past, and later on maybe experience the future that you had in a dream. He goes on so to say this in the gleanings. That's kind of the same thing. He's kind of confirming what he said earlier. Behold how that the thing which thou hast seen in thy dream after a considerable lapse of time is fully realized. Thy spirit, having transcended the limitations of sleep and having stripped itself of all earthly attachment, hath by the act of God been made to traverse a realm which lieth hidden in the innermost reality of this world. So we in the dream world, we can go into the dream and have an experience, and even, like I said, go into the future and have contact even with those in the next world. Later on in the same quotes about the dreams, he talks about, well, actually we'll get to it, I won't say it. But he says, sleep is the brother of death, and dreams can be a glimpse of the next world. So our dreams are a way of proving to us that we can exist without a body, that we can function without eyes and ears or physical hands and feet, that we can function in this world of dreams and have our complete function of what we think is a body, but a different kind of form that corresponds to this body in the dream world, that kind of proves to us that we don't need a physical being, a physical body in order for us to exist. So the dream is a glimpse of the next world.
Again, for instance, a person is dead, is buried in the ground. Afterwards, you see him in the world of dreams and speak with him, although his body is interred in the earth. Who is the person you see in your dreams, talk to, and who also speaks with you? This again proves that there is another reality different from the physical one, which dies and is buried. Thus, it is certain that in man there is a reality which is not the physical body. This other and inner reality is called the heavenly body, the ethereal form which corresponds to this body.
So that makes it pretty clear. There's another form that corresponds to this body. So that's like a reflection. I think of it almost like the Casper the Ghost kind of thing. Remember, Casper is like an ethereal kind of form, you know? He's like an invisible kind of airy kind of form. And that's kind of what our spiritual version of our physical body is like in the dream. Because everything we have is normal. We function normally in a dream. Yeah, we don't use anything physical. We have a corresponding body to this physical one that exists in that world, and will also exist in the spiritual world. That same kind of spiritual body will be in the next world that the soul is going to use at that time. Is anybody got any burning questions at the moment? Because there's a few more quotes we're going to go through. If everybody's happy, I can continue. Is everybody cool with what we're doing?
why don't we continue with all the pieces of writings you have? I don't know why I can't turn on my yake. And then after that, people can ask questions if
Okay.
possible. And then later on, if it's possible for you, please send me this compilation because some friends would like to have a copy of it. So if the friends who need a copy of that put their email address in the chat, I will make sure to send it to you. Please go ahead, Oscar.
Also, if you'd rather, I can post it tomorrow on my website, whichever is easier for you.
I think both will be great.
Good idea. Both is good. How many times it happened that the question which one cannot solve in the world of wakefulness is solved in the world of dreams?
Yeah, a lot of times we can't, Einstein used to say this all the time about how he would focus on something very intently. And then when he stopped focusing and just let his mind rest, and often sometimes he said he would go to sleep and have a nap and wake up and have a solution to the problem. It would solve itself in another kind of realm. He was very conscious of the fact he had to let go of his thinking process and let his intuitive process take over. I mentioned it before that Abdu'l-Baha had spoken to a woman about a baby. This was the actual quote. I'm giving you the actual quote so you understand that this is in the writings and you can find it in the writings and it's not really that obscure. So here we go. One day a woman came to Abdu'l-Baha and told him of a dream. Last night, Master, I dreamed that I was in a garden of such beauty that it seemed beyond the power of the most perfect human gardener to have created it. In this garden, I saw a beautiful young girl, about 19, who was caressing the flowers. As I came into the garden, she lifted her lovely head and came towards me with outstretched arms, as though in great love and joy at my visit. I looked at her amazed, and then I saw a startling resemblance to the tiny daughter I lost many years before. Abdu'l-Baha smiled his miraculous smile. My child, you have been permitted to see your daughter as she is now, walking in the sacred garden of one of the worlds of God. This is a bounty of God to you. Rejoice and be happy. So the daughter she had lost as a baby was now a grown woman in the next world. So someone had to raise her, someone had to teach her, someone had to be there for her in that next world in order for her to be a woman in that world and no longer the baby that her mother lost earlier on in her life. So again, these beings are there in the next world. We have family there. People are waiting for us right now. When we arrive, there'll be a party going on. Everybody's going to be jumping around, enjoying it, that we're now all back together again. It's going to be a wonderful experience. And now Abdu'l-Baha in Memorials of the Faithful, he wrote about Mullah Ali Akbar, and it's a kind of a funny story what he tells him. Would you read this one?
Yeah. Another hand of the cause was revered Mullah Akbar. Mullah Ali Akbar. Upon him be the glory of God, the all-glorious. I loved him very much, for he was delightful to converse with, and as a companion second to none. One night, not long ago, I saw him in the world of dreams. Although his frame had always been massive, in the dream world he appeared larger and more corpulent than ever. It seemed as if he had returned from a journey. I said to him, Janab, you have grown good and stout. Yes, he answered, praise be to God. I have been in places where the air was fresh and sweet, and the water crystal pure. The landscapes were beautiful to look upon, the foods delectable. It all agreed with me, of course, so I am stronger than ever now, and I have recovered the zest of my early youth. The breaths of the All-Merciful blew over me, and all the time was spent in telling of God. I have been setting forth proofs in teaching his faith. The meaning of teaching the faith in the next world is spreading the sweet savors of holiness and the actions of the same as teaching. We spoke together a little more, and then some people arrived and he disappeared.
So this was Abdul Baha's dream about one of what became at the hand of the cause. And he actually, these are metaphors of what was actually happening in that world. But he says he was bigger and stout, and he looked better than he ever did when he was in this world. And he tells you they've been on a teaching trip somewhere, and he'd been eating all kinds of food and drinking all kinds of cool stuff. He was having a ball. And that's how Abdul Baha described the dream he had of this believer. So again, we know that we have to translate who they are into what we can see and hear and what we can experience, because all we all understand is the human experience. All we understand is the physical body. So they manifest to us that way in that world so that we can see them and encounter them the way we remember them. But that's not who they really are, obviously. They're much more than that. But again, Abdul Baha gave you an example of how we can view them in that world.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing then, and we can go to questions.
Are we done? Is that
Yep,
the last
that's
one?
it.
Okay, well, yeah, we're done. If there are questions, I just wanted to do this so that I could clarify so many of the things that I was saying in my talk. I wanted to give all of you the opportunity to go back and read all of these things for yourself. They're not obscure, they're in the writings. We often read these things and they kind of blow right by us, and we don't really take the time to really focus on them. And in doing this, I think it gives us another look at how these things are so significant to us in our lives today, that we often take for granted or just kind of breeze by as Baha'is. So we have questions?
Thank you so much, Oscar. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Rod. I think Dr. Mushrif Zadeh has a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation and this meeting. So there are many distinguished scientists who are alive now and also in the past who do not believe and didn't believe in the existence of soul or spirit. And they considered all of those to be manifestations of the physical body. And there were many experiments that correlated attributes of a person, such as love, thinking, courage, things like that, with specific parts of the brain, just as an example. Now, in view of that, how do you think that your presentation today is in agreement and harmony with science?
Well, I quoted Einstein the last time I gave my talk, and I asked everyone to go on their phones and to look up and to Google Einstein about matter and spirit and see what Einstein had to say about it. And I don't know if you were here for that. Were you at that meeting? The gentleman who just spoke.
In all sincerity, Einstein is just an individual, and he could have believed in the existence of soul and spirit on faith, But what I'm asking is a general question: that do you think that
I think I understand.
Soul on faith or based on science?
What the science that we were referring to, he referred to the fact that matter is a vibration that has been lowered to the point of visibility, is what he said. He said that matter does not really exist, that matter is not the dense thing that we believe it is. All matter is nothing but vibrating spirit that's been slowed down to become visible and material. So that was his concept from a spiritual and scientific standpoint, that vibration, everything is vibrating. Everything in existence is vibrating. And he said that the vibrations have been lowered to make the material world exist, but that in reality, it is the spirit that is vibrating and is lowered to the point of becoming visible. That is what the whole point of that was. And that's a scientific concept. It's not just a thing on faith. He was saying that matter itself is vibration. And Baha'u'llah says the exact same thing, by the way. Baha'u'llah says that the same thing exists, that the vibration of our existence is a result of material existence. It's because of that vibration. And that's the reality of all things material. And then he goes on to say the material world doesn't really exist. It's an illusion. Einstein says the whole thing is an illusion. This whole material world is nothing but an illusion. It's not real. It's nothing but a facsimile of the real thing. This is not the real reality. And we mustn't become caught up in believing that this is what is real.
May I read another question?
Rod
Go
was going
ahead.
to further explain what this question was about.
Well, I think it's a question that's very important, but it's really beyond kind of the talk. You know, the whole area of quantum mechanics and physics and all of this area is with the string theory and the parallel universes, I believe. But again, every person has to look at this for themselves. I believe it very much accords with the Baha'i teachings. The Baha'i teachings themselves are very clear that religion is in accordance with science. There is one reality, and there are one laws governing all of those. And those laws, we can on this level be able to understand at some level in terms of exploring physical reality, but it is through these revealers of God's beauty that helps us to see them at another level. And as science evolves, we hopefully will be able to have greater scientific explanations and understanding of these things.
Abdu'l-Baha says that reality is one, and that it cannot admit to multiplicity. The idea of material and spiritual is a connection. Science and religion is a connection. Faith and reason is a connection. Matter and spirit is a connection. There's no, we think of them as dichotomous, either or, but the Baha'i faith says and, matter and spirit, science and religion, faith and reason. Faith is not believing in the unbelievable. Faith is having a decision made on given facts and information. So the Baha'i faith has a different stance on these ideas than the idea of the dichotomous either or kind of way of looking at things. We look at things as being united and connected rather than disconnected and opposites.
So other questions?
May I, Shahpran, may I read? I have a few questions in chat. One of them is, what happens to our relationships with souls that played a part in our development and experience in this life, but somehow that relationship came to an end either through misunderstanding, hurt, or discord? What will happen to that relationship in the next world?
We kind of lost you. The last part of what you said, we didn't hear it. You kind of broke it.
So is it in the chat or is it something?
It is to me, but I read it again. What happens to our relationships with souls that played a part in our development? Let's say we were married and that person had a great role in creating a better me. And then he says, and in this life, but somehow that relationship came to an end, either through misunderstanding, hurt, or discord.
Oh, they're definitely going to find themselves in the next world. And all the things that were hidden from them that may have caused those problems are going to be clear, and it's going to be forgotten, and it's going to be laid aside. None of those things are going to be important that we deal with materially in this life. So definitely there will be a friendship, there will be a love that will be rekindled in that world. And we will leave behind all the misgivings and the hurt and all the pain all that's for this life. Those tests, as I said earlier, are for this world. They're not for that world. So definitely there will be a reconciliation. There'll be a coming together. There'll be a unity. There'll be a love in that world, for sure.
Oscar, in the next world, I will hold you to whatever you just said. I know it is being taped in the next world. Don't ever forget what you said. I want
I read the writings to you. I was giving you the quotes. I'm not making this stuff up.
as long as you know that you're going to be accountable.
Oh, Abdu'l-Baha, I'm quoting the master. What are you doing here? Don't hold me personal. I defer to Abdu'l-Baha and Baha'u'llah. I'm sorry, I can't take responsibility for that.
Oscar and Rod, sorry, Shahab Khan, Joni Bobian, my sister, wrote here, thank you, Oscar and Rod, for a very clear understanding of dreams and the afterlife after the soul. It has been very revealing, and I have broadened my perspective. Thank you for your love for all of us by deepening our knowledge and understanding. I am very grateful for this evening. We love you, Joni. We love you.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Shahab, go for it.
Which one? Which person is Joni?
Joni is the one who has a heart on.
Well, hello there, Joni. Nice to see you. Where are you? Where are you hailing from? Where are you living? Where are you?
Montreal, Quebec.
Montreal, Quebec. Okay. Yeah. All right. I've been to Canada a few times, but it's been a long time ago.
Well, it's a great city, and we have a shrine here, Baha'i shrine. So, yes. Yeah. I'm not Baha'i, but I've gone there with a friend of mine, and it's truly beautiful. Very.
Just to make others extremely envious, Joni has invited me to her home to stay with her, and she promised that she would take me there. And I haven't been able to say yes yet. But this is a sister, don't you think so, Rod?
Yes, I think it's wonderful. And not only is her comments wonderful, but you know, when I am speaking, I have the pictures up here, and different of your faces really are so loving, so encouraging, and Joni's is one of them. So when you're, you know, I've spent my life teaching and speaking, and when you do speak to a large group, there's often 2 or 3 people in the audience you kind of pick out, and she is one of them that I picked out because you kind of speak to them, and you feel somehow that they're with you.
Shahab Khan, go for it.
Sure. I have one comment and few questions because there were so many. I was writing them. I want to ask questions. So you mentioned that there is no clergy in the faith and that you're expressing your opinion. So the image I was saying is that the reality, the truth is like the ray of sun, and somehow with the prism, it's just divided in millions of different lights, and each person has this one light. And when we share this, all of this like together, then we can have a glimpse of the reality, what it is. This is the comment. The question.
If I could interrupt you there, because you had asked earlier about how do we develop these. And one of the other talks that I give is about the prism. And I'd like to just take 1 second to many of the people who have heard me speak have heard it, but if you really want to know what are the essential requisites for spiritual growth, what are the things you have to do to feed your soul, Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha have made them very clear. And I use the acronym Prisms to help us remember 6 of those essential requisites. This is the path that you have to follow or true spirituality. And the P stands for prayer. So every religion, every practice, you must practice prayer. You must daily do prayer. And as Baha'is, we have the obligatory prayers, which you should do. And Baha'u'llah in the writings, it isn't just, okay, now it's this and I have to do my ritual of the prayer. That is gone. It's nothing, you can say it with words in this, but it's all about your heart. And so Baha'u'llah, if you read the writings, if you summarize all of the guidance about it, again, I'm trying to simplify it. It is to pray with pure-hearted devotion, which is to pray with a PhD, pure-hearted devotion. And every one of us needs to work daily to develop that PhD. And so they are on Prisms is to read or recite every day. And these are practices, just like we have to feed ourselves every day, we have to sleep there are certain things you do daily to help your body be healthy and to grow. These are things we have to do daily to help our souls grow. We can't see it, but that's how we help our souls grow. These are the food for the soul. And so we are to read. And that reading really is this revealed beauty that this immortal essence has given to us through these revelators. So read the revealed word. And again, Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha have given us directions on how to read. It isn't like reading a book, reading the newspaper. They say we have to read with reverence, attention, and thought. And so if you not only can remember Prisms, but you have to pray with a PhD and you have to read with a RAT, reverence, attention, and thought. The I is to inspire, or in the Baha'i writings, it is to teach the faith. Every faith has that injunction that you must, once you have gotten this gift, you have to give it to other people. To take this food in and not do something with it is going to create spiritual indigestion, and you're just going to get fat and unhealthy. You've got to give that out. So what you take in, you give out. You inspire other souls. You have to teach other people. You have to help. You have to bring that spirit, that soul, that love, that knowledge to other people. You have to create with your words and your actions, deeds and words that are going to uplift another soul, to inspire them. The S of Prisms is to serve. And this is, again, another exercise we must do. Once you pray and read, you have to then take that and you have to serve humanity. It isn't just to teach their souls. You need to serve their bodies, you need to serve their minds, and you need to serve their souls. All of those are services while we're in this world that are considered worship. They are ways to develop our soul. They are how we develop our strength. It is by serving that, in the same way that we develop our muscles by actually using them. It is by serving that we're using our spiritual muscles, our soul muscles, because it takes effort to serve. And so, you know, we may want to sit around and say, oh, I love God, I know God, or I'm going to, it's the same way of sitting around saying, well, I'm going to be strong, but I'm going to sit here on this couch and just think about being strong. You've got to actually exercise. And the service is that one of those key exercises. The M is the third part of the food. 3 of these are foods and 3 of these are exercises. And the M is for meditation. So what you have prayed about, what you have read, you need to meditate on. You just don't pray and get up and go. You just don't read and get up and go. You have to digest that. That food needs to be digested. And that digestion happens through meditation. And again, we are given a clear guidance on how we meditate, which is quite different than the meditation that is talked about in most of the circles where people talk about meditation. Meditation in the Baha'i sense is, and again, I use another acronym to help remember it, is you need to meditate on the cuff. And the cuff means so that you can convey what you have prayed about and read, and you can understand the you, and you can fulfill the first step more faithfully. So you meditate what you prayed and read about so that you can convey it more faithfully, you can understand it more faithfully, you can fulfill it more faithfully in your life. It isn't just, you're not just reading that so that, oh, now I know something. You have to do something with it. And so that meditation actually helps you to see, okay, do I understand it? So when we are learning about the soul, we're talking about a very difficult concept. And so when we read one of those writings, like this world as is different from the next world, as the world of the womb is to this world. Now that's a fairly simple sentence. I memorize it, I can say it, but it doesn't mean I, number one, understand it. Doesn't mean, number two, that I can convey the understanding of that to other people. Number three, that I can fulfill that meaning of it faithfully in my life. And so I have spent hours meditating on that. How is our souls, how is this world different from when I was in my mother's womb going to be that is different from this world to the next world? And so that, just meditating on that, has been tremendous. It's given me tremendous, not only insight, it's given me tremendous inspiration, because I can actually visualize. I can actually, it'd be like if I went into the womb and said, if I could communicate with that child and say, you know, these things that you're developing here, they don't mean anything to you here, but I'm going to give you a glimpse of what they're going to mean to you in the next world. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my goodness, I want to develop these so much. Whereas if you don't have that vision, then it doesn't, you don't have that kind of inspiration, that motivation. And so the meditation is very key. It's one of the unique, these are all powers of the soul. These are all virtues of the soul. These are all like limbs and senses of the soul. You have to use them all. The last one is probably the most challenging, but one of the most important of the prisms, and that is you have to strive every day. Every day you have to do every one of these things. And the striving to put what this revealed beauty into your life, that's where you do take all those virtues. Today, I've got to be patient, to be loving, to learn more, to serve better. All of these virtues, I have to strive. And it's a daily process. As so many of the metaphors that our writings give us, you start with the seed, but then the next day you don't have the fruit. It has to go through stages. And you can't just sit down today and say, okay, I haven't prayed for 50 years. Now I'm going to make up for it and spend 3 weeks praying. It doesn't, you can't, you have to do it. You have to gradually grow. I can't say, oh, I'm a weakling. I should have been exercising. Now I need to exercise. And I go and grab 100-pound weight and try and lift it. No, I'm going to have to start with my little 3-pound weight, which I keep handy here when I'm sometimes talking, and I can exercise with it, so that as I do that, then I can develop the strength. But You do it gradually. So if you haven't been doing these things, you should start tomorrow doing. Write prisms down, get a little, you can put a little chart up and do a check mark. You know, did I pray today? Did I read? Did I inspire someone? Did I serve? Did I strive? Did I meditate? And then go back to the writings and begin to read about how do you do this? What is prayer? What does meditation look like? So I think I wanted to just share that. You brought up prisms. I think that was I'm going to blame that to the angels influencing you to spark me to say.
Now I have another question. How we can have access to your talk and presentation about Prism? Added to more.
Well, it is online with Ask Farouche. She's my boss.
Shahapon, it is not your turn. We can't answer your question right now.
I said,
there are so many people standing there and the chat is full of questions.
No.
Since you're helping us with technical issues, you may be sure that we can provide you with everything you want. Just go ahead, Shahapon.
No, I said I have a comment and I have a question. I just said a comment and then we had this wonderful answer, so I can wait for my other questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to welcome our African sister, Mafor. She's here by the name of Auntie Queen. She lives in Boston. She's really an African sister. She said, I'm glad I'm here today. I'm so tired after returning from work in Boston, but my spirit insisted I participate today. Thank them for me. I can't talk today. We love you. Thank you, Auntie Queen. Mafor, thank you for being here. And previously, we had the privilege of both of you, you and your sister, both of you here, but I know that everyone is busy. Thank you for being here. Also,
I just posted my website where you can go. I have study guides and compilations. But then once you get into my website, I have a number of presentations. You'll be able to find Prism in there, plus lots of other presentations on different things.
Shahapon, this is the answer to your question. I'm reading from a note by Mr. Ali Khan. He's a wonderful friend from Woodstock. God bless you all. Today's meeting was outstanding. Wish I could stay, but I have to give my wife medication. Thank you for letting me join your Zoom. Good night. Convey my respect and admiration to both your guests. Love you all. How wonderful, Mr. Khan. I know he's not here, but he usually finishes our fireside with prayers from Quran. Anyways, Shahla Jun, go for it, please.
Thank you so much for the lovely presentation. I'm wondering if sometimes terminology that has been corrupted confuses people when we talk about God and soul. So sometimes people say to me, oh, I don't believe in God. And I say, most probably, I don't believe in that God that you don't believe in either, because that God that's on the ceiling of Sistine Chapel pointing to you, sending you to hell, is not the God I believe. God is love, and that's in my heart. So when you change the terminology, same thing with soul. I'm wondering, because I think of my soul as my essence, and this essence of mine takes in it all the virtues of God to the extent that I'm capable of. And that's the one that is eternal. So I'm wondering if the terminology is making it confusion, creates this confusion. And even as you mentioned about the seed and the fruit, and sometimes we hug the tree was not the tree that we worship, it's the essence of that apple, the taste of that apple, the smell and perfume of that apple. So I'm wondering if we could change this, sometimes explain the terminology to better grasp what we mean. Some of these words have become so corrupted that has lost its real sense.
I agree so much. And when I first became a Baha'i, I wouldn't, not only would I not say God, I would not say religion. I would not call the Baha'i faith a religion because, again, my own association with those terms have become corrupted. And so I very much appreciate what you're saying. And depending, we're dealing with kind of a broad audience. And I think we need to be very cognizant that in our conversations with other people, we need to be careful not to use words that are going to shut them off, are going to distance them, or they're going to immediately put up a barrier. So we are to use words as mild as milk and to not say anything beyond what people can understand. And so depending on the audience, definitely, I agree. You need to find a different language. And what I often will just say that in infinite essence or an unknowable reality, you know, a creator. But in the end, you know, when you're with a larger group, sometimes it, but I very much appreciate your sentiment.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Faride Jun, I just wanted to introduce Faride before she says anything. Faride is in Chicago right now in the House of Worship. And every single Thursday, I ask her to say a prayer for our fireside. And she always does. Thank you for joining us, Faride Jun. Please go ahead.
Well, aloha, Pa. Thank you so much. You was right. I left the temple, we read prayer, and then I turned on. I was listening in the train until I reached home. I changed. I was listening. I enjoy it. But I was surprised, shocked to see Oscar. Where is he? Because he was in Los Angeles with the youth. I came from Hong Kong, and then we was doing some teaching together. I want to know, Oscar, do you remember me, Faride Peymani?
She talking to me?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar, say yes.
Okay, yes, I knew the question. I'm sorry.
It's Faraday, but yeah.
Oh, Faraday.
She knows you.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello.
We was together in Los Angeles. You was in the Baha'i Center with the
Oh, yes, of course. I remember, of course, yes.
Take me to the top of the Los Angeles. We was looking for some shop together to buy some shoes or something. We've been for a long time.
That was a long time ago. That was a very long time ago. My goodness. How do you remember all this stuff?
Where are you right now? Are you in Los Angeles or Virgin Islands?
I'm in the Virgin Islands with Rod. I'm here serving for the National Assembly.
Oh my gosh. And your sister on the National Assembly of the USA.
My sister?
Yes.
My sister's all over the world half the time. She's always traveling. She's never at home.
Yeah, she is, but I met her in the temple a few times because this year.
Oh, yeah, she came to Chicago. She was there recently. Yeah, she was there not too long ago. That's right. She did a talk.
You know, Oscar, the whole world wants to talk to you, but unfortunately, we have only 10 more minutes. Faride Jun.
Sorry, I couldn't stop not to say Oscar, you know.
That was.
But Firuza John, I did pray tonight in the temple, and 100 seekers come asking about glory, faith of Baha'u'llah. Whatever more done, and people come ask questions behind faith. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you, Oscar.
Thank you. Oscar, from now on, when people say to you that I know you, you just smile until you remember.
I'm old. I can't remember. I recognize her now. I couldn't see her face so well. Now I see her face. I know exactly who she is. Yes, of course.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. Charles Prangoff, you were the last person to ask question. Please go ahead.
I have two questions, if I may.
God help us all.
So you mentioned that in one of the writings, it says in the like in the words of God, that means next word and infinite words of God is coming. So is that what it means? Is one thing. The other thing is you also mentioned there is no time. So if there is no time in the other world, that means all the souls that leave this world, they arrive at the same time. Like if there is no, okay, so there is no time. Like we all appear in here. It takes like hundreds of years, but other side is like this.
Okay, if you remember when people die, they say that their lives flash before them. Their entire life flashes before them. You know why they say that? It's because everything that you've ever experienced is now. There is no past. There is only now. We have the illusion of time because of the sun and the days of rising and setting of the sun. Abdu'l-Baha says there is no such thing. There is only now. So in the next world, going back to the seed, the tree, and the fruit, Baha'u'llah says in the next world, the seed, the tree, and the fruit are simultaneous. They're simultaneous. There is no now, later, and after. There is only now.
So there is no time and there is no space. And there's no space. That means
in the physical world, we measure everything because we are in a material existence. In reality, there is no such thing as time. In reality, there is no such thing as time. And we are only living in the now. And when the moment you pass away, your entire life becomes now. In other words, you think you've been going through a process when it's all been just now. There is no past, future, present. There's only now. That's the reality of things. It's hard to put our minds around that. That's a pretty wild concept to look at it that way. The seed, the tree, and the fruit are all now. There is no process because we are very linear as human beings. Everything has an order to it. But in reality, that is an illusion. That is not the real existence that we truly have. We're only experiencing them because we're in a physical form. We have this experience we call time, but there is no such reality.
Regarding the space, so there's no space. That means that soul is already in the other world.
We're already, yeah, everything is now. The other world is not apart. Abdu'l-Baha says that the worlds are connected. There's no opposites. The spiritual world and material world are part of one reality. We just can't see beyond the veil. It's right here. It's like you walking around the bushes in your garden and they're all saying, oh, human beings don't exist. Oh, that's a rumor. It's one of those things they say, human beings, there's no such thing. And you're walking around them all the time. The spiritual world is right here. The spiritual world is right here, and we cannot see it. We cannot experience it because of the veil of the human reality. The physical form separates us.
So that means our souls is already together.
Yes.
Just by death, just the veil is just removing the veil, and just all of a sudden, just there's light.
Absolutely, you got it. That's the reality. There's one soul in many bodies, he says. If you think of the Holy Spirit shining lights on a million different little mirrors, right? Every mirror is a human being. And the light from the Holy Spirit shines on every one of these little mirrors, and every one of those become individual human beings within those little mirrors all over the world, all over the universe, right? The Holy Spirit. Now, how many lights do we have?
One light, but millions of sparkles.
Yeah. There's only one light. It's reflected in a million different mirrors, but how many lights are there? Only one. One soul in many bodies. We're all connected. We're not separate from each other. There's only one reality. I keep saying, Abdul Baha says, reality is one and cannot admit to multiplicity. There are no multiples. There's only one reality. And we
Oscar, we love you. Oscar, we want you to speak until we die, but Shahab Khan would have questions between now and eternity about light. And
I'm looking for the Virgin Islands next flight. I'll be there.
God help you. So, friends, it's about 8:57. I've asked a few people to say prayers, and we would like to say prayers for humanity, for what's going on in this world, to people of different religions, different race, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Joni, would you like to start it? I always shock you, I know. And I have asked Louise as well. And maybe, Oscar, would you like to say a prayer as well?
Okay, I'll be happy to say a prayer.
I apologize to interrupt you, but it's just a little too late.
Yeah,
So,
well, it is.
Joni, please.
Clock our time, so
Okay.
we may be leaving somewhere if it goes too long.
Yes.
So thank you. If I don't have a chance to say goodbye, thank you all. It was lovely being.
Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Rod. We love you.
Thank you.
My favorite prayer for peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
Oscar?
Oh God, oh God. This is a broken winged bird and his flight is very slow. Assist him so that he may fly toward the apex of prosperity and salvation. Bring his way with the utmost joy and happiness throughout the limitable space. Raise his melody in that supreme name in all the regions. Exhilarate the ears with this call and brighten the eyes by beholding the signs of God. Oh Lord, I'm single, alone, and lonely. For me, there is no support save thee, no helper except thee, no sustainer besides thee. Confirm me in thy service. Assist me with the cohorts of thy angels. Make me victorious in the promotion of thy word, and suffer me to speak out thy wisdom amongst thy creatures. Verily, thou art the helper of the weak, the defender of the little ones. And verily, thou art the powerful, the mighty, and the unconstrained.
Louise?
Yeah, let's really raise the prayers and ask all of those beautiful souls who have ascended to the other side to assist all of humanity. O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferst life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father, God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind.
Thank you, in the hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day than today.
Mm.
And in the hope that our prayers could create difference in what's happening in the world. Love you all. Rod, Faye Alum is here. Hi, Faye. We love you and we know you're there. So if you want to say hi to us, you're more than welcome. If not, we're saying hi to you. Faye, hi, Faye. She served with Rod for more than 10 years in Haifa. Thank you all. Thank you all. Gibby, I love you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Ron.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rod. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
God willing.
Wow. That's powerful.
Thank you for this wonderful session.
Shahab Khan, I feel more touched and inspired compared to all of you. It feels great. It feels great to be here and giving. Yeah.
I think it would be amazing to have them again, because I think as soon as they open their mouth, you see the light is emanating from them, and like everybody's in so awe. I think it was a very touching subject, and would be great if it's possible to have them to deepen even more about this subject. Would be great.
You know that Rod worked at the research department for over 6-7 years in Haifa. Of course, Faye served there longer than everybody else in the world, because she served for 10 years. 10 years. And Gibby, I hurt my foot when I went there to serve, and I came back, but it was very hot, and Faye would bring big watermelons up there to my apartment, which was on top of the world. And you don't know what kind of kindness I experienced in Haifa. I will never forget that. Faye Azizam, قربونتون برم من.
My God, my goodness, it was such a pleasure. It's so wonderful to know you, to be with you. It's wonderful. What a bounty.
What a bounty for me.
Thank you.
Much love to all. I can't say goodbye because it's so hard, but I know that we'll see each other next week.
Great.
Gibby,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Gibby, I love you. Shahab Khan, I was at Gibby's mansion in Moncton this summer. We've never met before. She attended the firesides, and it just so happened that she extended an invitation, and I flew. And I tell you, I've never been happier.
Okay. Moncton, New Brunswick is amazing. My Khale lives in Sussex, New Brunswick. We went this summer. It's amazing. It's New Brunswick is just amazing.
Next time you can come my way.
Big pleasure. Big pleasure.
What a generosity of spirit. Next time I'll bring Faye as well.
Yes,
Where,
Faye.
where are we going?
To Moncton, where Gibby has the most beautiful mansion next to the water.
Wow.
Shediac, Feroz.
Shediac. Yes, Shediac. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not a Canadian yet. Probably soon.
It's not, as long as it's not a cold place. It's not cold.
It is cold. Yes.
But we'll go in summer. We'll go in summer. Pina could go with us too.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Pina gonna come from plus 50. Malaysia gonna come to plus 40 in New Brunswick.
Why not?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Faraj Khan, glad to see you and thank you so much for being tonight. Love you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Allah
Thank
Akbar.
you.
Allah.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Good night. Allah.
I'm a beautiful Pinang from Malaysia. We are good friends from the teenage together in Thailand. Oh, my Pinang joy.
Azizam, Farida Jun, you know the whole world.
Me and Pinang together, both of us is teenage. This is a story of the almost 14 years. We are in the Thailand together in the ocean camp. Oh my God. She teaches, oh, yeah, Baha'u'llah. She's angel, this lady, Pinang. I love her. Love you.
I know. Take care. Farida Jun, I love you. I miss you.
I miss you too. We'll probably see you next summer, definitely, because right now it's cold.
I'm waiting. I've been waiting for 10 years now.
Oh, has it been 10 years? Oh my God.
Maybe a little less.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Giti Khanum, it's wonderful. Thank you for being here. Julia, that's great. Good night, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week. Thanks so much.
Bye, Shama. Farajun. Khodafis. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
نمیتونم قطع کنم انقدر دوستتون دارم. It's hard for me. Good night.